Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Oana.
Okay, we're going to talk about CPI info that just came out and how this affects real estate, because apparently there's some predictions that interest rates are going to go back above 7%. Okay, let's just jump right in here. This is the CPI. This numbers just came out. This is the most recent CPI data. This is for the full month of January. Now, as you can see on this chart, the inflation is much lower than it was a year ago. Okay. Matter of fact, in 2022, it was like over 8%. It's 3.1% is the total inflation number. 3.9%, that's food and energy. Okay. All right. All items, 3.1%. Now, what's interesting about this, Oana, while they're looking at this chart, I'm going to read this quote. The reason inflation is so high is because of shelter inflation, which is also known as rent. Okay, remember, it doesn't have anything to do with home prices. It's strictly, because home prices are considered an investment, right?
Correct.
Okay, this is the data. In the last 12 months, shelter inflation up 6%. So remember, prices of goods and services are going up. Rent was the biggest one. Rents are up 6%. So
these are national numbers.
National numbers. Nationally, rents are up 6%. Okay. Rents are up, but they're not likely to drop. Here, we're going to go through some information in here. We have more data, but there's something that's being missed here. This inflation for rent is not because of too much money chasing rent. It's because of scarcity. Want it. What is the difference between there's just a bunch of money out there and it's just going and people are raising prices for no reason versus there's not enough, there's a shortage which pushes prices up?
Right. So you've got a really good point. There is a shortage of homes. So let me give you an example.
Okay.
I'm working with some investors and they're looking at purchasing rentals, right? So the going rate for something that they can get $2,000 a month for is about $425.
Okay.
Now, if you were buying this house at $425, you'd be paying a lot more than $2,000 a month.
Okay.
Okay. So this lets you know that there's not a lot of flexibility on behalf of the landlords to lower that rent. So that means that that rent isn't going any lower. It also means that because homes are expensive, it's costing investors more money to purchase these homes, and it's also taking homes off the market for owner occupants, and that's leaving, again, people having to rent. And what are they renting? They're renting these homes that are now up for rent.
Right. Let's go through some of this, and then let's talk about some of the rent data that's up. Okay. All right. So we've got the first quote: mortgage rates are very likely headed back over 7% on average, and projected Fed cut rates in May are now in serious jeopardy. So, a few months ago we were talking about March cuts. Now we're talking about May cuts. Of course, these aren't direct cuts. The Fed doesn't control mortgage rates. Okay. But the idea that the markets are looking ahead, seeing that overall borrowing higher is what's affecting mortgage rates, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. All right. I'm gonna put this chart up. This is these were the top 7 things that contributed to the CPI. Okay. Car insurance inflation 20.6%. That's a bit crazy. I thought that industry was regulated. They couldn't just jack up insurance. I don't know why your car insurance would be up 20.6% because cars aren't worth 20% more than they were a year ago.
No, you're right. But you've got a really good point. So it's the regulation that's causing that. And let me explain.
Okay.
Because they are regulated, they have to submit their price increases to the state like 18 months in advance.
Okay.
And then the state takes 18 months to approve it. So they're forever playing catch up.
Okay.
So it's not that it's 20% more expensive this year than last year. It's that they're making up for the past 18 months of increases. Okay.
Yeah. Transportation inflation 9, hospital, car repair, homeowner inflation 6.2%. Those are rents. That's homeowner inflation. I don't know what even that is. What's homeowner inflation? Because they don't measure home prices in the CPI.
I don't know what they're talking about. I mean, I would assume that it's things like home maintenance things, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Never heard of that. That's rent inflation. That's the big one. Food away from home inflation, 5.1%. I guess just like eating out.
Well, it is. The other thing that they don't mention is homeowners insurance.
Okay.
So I've recently renewed a few properties, and boy, oh boy, did my rates go up.
Yeah, they went up a ton.
A lot. I mean, they went up, like, some of them went up like 15%.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is that? Because my house isn't necessarily worth, well, okay, maybe it is worth. But the point is that the cost of materials is only a portion of the value. Because remember, the land, they're not insuring because nothing's going to happen to the land.
Right.
So, yeah, so that went up a lot too.
Here's another quote. Rent inflation is at 6.6% a year. Mm-hmm. This was yet another reason to buy a home. Your mortgage payment, principal, and interest is fixed for 30 years. Now, so there's people caught in this trap. Mm-hmm. Well, I can't buy a house because I have to have the lowest payment possible, and it's $500 more to go buy a house. Mm-hmm. I'll just pay my rent payment. And they've been saying that for 10 years.
Right. Which, again, it speaks to the example that I just gave, that, rents in Vegas, sort of the average rent is $2,200, which is about what these properties will go for that are $425.
Okay.
So, these people who didn't want to pay whatever their mortgage was going to be, they're having to pay this rent, and home prices are just going up and up. And it just, that spread between what they can afford and what the price of that home is just growing. It's not shrinking.
Anecdotally, 3 of our properties in the last month, we did rent increases. Mm-hmm. We were not being mean. These rent increases were based on comps. We looked at other properties, and the rents went up. Mm-hmm. Because everyone else was paying more. Right. Like either a new one came on the market or somebody renewed. Now, a renewal we don't get to see in the MLS, right? Because like we renewed the rent, but we don't put that in the MLS to let a person know. That's why people tend to only look at what are things renting for now. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which is probably the reason why when they're evaluating rent inflation, they're doing the surveys versus just looking at the MLSs, because the surveys in some ways are more accurate because they're addressing these rent renewals, mm-hmm. to your point, and the MLSs are only addressing new rentals, not rent renewals.
Okay, here's another quote for the article. This is talking about housing. Inventory still remains historically low. My contention is that high rents have nothing to do with, or not as much to do with, inflation in general. It's a shortage of homes. Like there's just not enough homes for all the people. So if you own a rental house as an investor and you put the house for rent, you have a ton of people wanting to rent it. Mm-hmm. This isn't where, the house is sitting vacant. We were hearing, there was somebody last summer that kept dropping in the channel talking about how the homes were sitting on the market for months and months and weren't whatever. Absolutely not true. As a matter of fact, if that's the case, why are rents up 6%? Right? We have the CPI data. Rents are up 6%.
Right.
So if rents are up, there's not a bunch of houses sitting around vacant. I guess that idea that rents would crash.
Well, okay, so are there homes sitting around vacant? Yes, but those homes are mispriced. So if the home is worth $2,200 a month and you're pricing it at $3,000 a month, it's not going to rent. But is that really a fair judgment of what rents are doing in that market? Okay,
here's interesting. I thought this was interesting. Now these talk about resale homes. New listings from 2008 to 2011. Every week, 250,000 to 400,000 new homes came on the market nationwide each week. Mm-hmm. Right now, for the last 3 years, it's been 30 to 90,000 a week. So on the low end, it's less than a tenth. Mm-hmm. Less than a tenth. Even on the high end, it's still the highest the closest possible thing is less than a third. Mm-hmm. So you basically have like a fifth mm-hmm. of the homes on the market. Right. Probably, maybe a sixth of the number of homes coming on the market. Remember, the country's bigger mm-hmm. and we have more homes. We just have more homes more inventories locked down because more people own the home and they don't have to sell.
Right.
Right?
And they're not interested in selling.
Okay. This is from Mortgage News Daily. These were some average rates that they had posted. These rates are a little on the high side. I don't know where they get these numbers from. They had the going rate is at a 30 years is 6.96, 15-year conventional 6.31, a jumbo 7.29, but we just looked at a jumbo that was less than, like it was almost a full percent less than a conforming, which I thought was interesting. FHA and VA, those are also too high. Looked at a VA 30-year recently, it was like 5.8%. So, yeah, I don't know where Mortgage News Daily gets the data. I thought I'd show it to you, but what I really like is Freddie Mac. Their data is actually pretty accurate. These are the most recent mortgage rates from Freddie Mac, 6.64%. Haven't really changed in almost a month. Been about hanging out at 6.64. 15 years is at 5.9 right now. Mm-hmm. So could these go above, could that 30-year go above 7? Yeah, it probably could. But let's talk about the housing market right now. Anecdotally, it's pretty crazy still. Like a home gets listed and immediately has offers again. And this is February.
Yeah.
This is not April, May.
There's a frenzy out there. It's really interesting. It's either homes have no game or they have all the game in the world. And it doesn't really matter on the price point. I think that's kind of interesting too.
You don't think so?
No, I'm seeing it all the way across from homes in the 400s to homes in the several million. They're either sitting there and nobody wants them or everybody wants them.
What about the $2 million house? That was pretty fast, right? The one over by the one that we sold in the gated neighborhood that we drove by the other night?
Yeah.
That was pretty fast, right? $2 million. It sold like in a week or two.
Yeah. So that one actually sold off market.
Oh, it was not in the MLS. Mm-mm. Okay. How does that work? Explain to them out there how that works. How does the house sell off market? Like, how does the buyer find it if it's not on the market?
So if it's not on the market, then the buyer's going to have to work with an agent that knows where there's treasure. And treasure tends to be with certain listing offices, right? It tends to be with offices that list primarily in those areas, in those neighborhoods, those types of houses. And then it's a matter of contacting listing agents in those offices and saying, hey, what do you have that's off market that we can take a look at? I
think we can do a whole video on this. Mm-hmm. The basic premise is there's a lot of people think it's unfair that homes should be, privately sold, not to have other people have a shot at it. But the bottom line is if a seller doesn't want their house publicly for sale, they don't have to. They could say, look, I'll sell my house if I get $2 million, but I don't want it listed. I don't want people looking at pictures online. I don't want people knocking on my door. I don't want people coming in the house. If you know somebody that's looking in this area, maybe, we can do it private. We can just sell it. And I noticed that more in the higher end.
Right.
Like you've done, how many would you say were off market you did, like over $1 million or $2 million?
In the last year?
In the last year.
Oh my gosh. Probably
30?
No more than that.
40 or 50?
Probably.
40 or 50?
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So here's the deal. These people value their privacy above all else. And they don't want everybody seeing their home. They don't want the neighbors maybe to know that their home is for sale. Maybe they don't want their employer or their business partner or their employees knowing that their home is for sale. There are a lot of reasons why people would like to keep their privacy.
I did one of those, and the only thing they didn't want was the sign in their yard. Because they said they had to put it in the MLS to get a lot of offers and get people to want to look at it. But we just couldn't put the sign in the yard because they said they had people that they worked with in their neighborhood and they didn't want them because they had accepted a job for a different company out of town and they hadn't told their employer.
Right.
So they didn't want to alert anybody that they were moving or whatever. Yep. So we didn't put a sign in the yard. So
that actually happens a lot more than you'd imagine, yes.
Okay, last thing about this inflation, and we'll sort of wrap it up. We thought that if mortgage rates fell, that would loosen things up. Some people would say, okay, fine, it's 5.5%. I'll go ahead and sell the other house and buy the house. And that would sort of seed some more listings into the marketplace. But we're not seeing that. Like, especially if we go through this spring season, and rates don't drop at all. Like if we get to June and rates haven't dropped, you know, even with relatively high rates, we're still probably looking at, you know, a frenzy for purchasing, right?
If there were homes on the market, they would sell because people do want to buy.
Okay.
But there just aren't homes on the market that people want to buy.
What if they live in Vegas and they want to sell their home, but they want to stay as a tenant? Tell them about the deal we have going right now.
So like I said, I've been working with a few investors and they're out there trying to buy homes. So if you are interested in selling your home and staying as a tenant for whatever reason, give us a ring and we'll see what we can work out. Market value for your home. We're not trying to, you know, give you 30% under market value or something crazy.
No.
We're just trying to buy homes without having to compete for them, and homes that are ready to be rented, not homes that need extensive renovations.
Right. Well, I think this is the benefit. If you list your home and then when people make offers, you say, oh, no, I want to stay as a tenant for a year. Most, by far, of the people making offers on your house want to live in the house. Like by far, most of the people do. You might end up with somebody who, you know, wants to be a landlord or whatever. But the problem is you're going to have a lot of people make offers, you won't be able to accept them because they're like, no, I need you out. So we have a special deal. It's only if you want to stay in the house, we'll let you stay.
Right. I mean, if you want to sell your home outright, that's totally fine too. We'll be happy to take care of that too.
Yeah. We can do that too.
All right. So leave us your real estate related comments. We appreciate them. Reach out to us if you have any questions. Shout out to people who stop me in stores and say hello. We appreciate you watching the channel. Costco, Home Depot, those seem to be the places I run into people the most.
The store. Yeah, yes. Costco. That's funny.
And I think it's because they hear my voice. But anyway, so we appreciate it. So
the funny one was when we were wearing the masks.
Yes.
And they walked up to you with the mask on and said they recognized you from the video.
Yeah, that to me, that's crazy, which is wonderful. We appreciate you so much. Please remember to like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share the video, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.